Okay, this is a response video to Scott TBS and his God's Checklist 2.0. I have a few things to say about that. I'm going to go with his argument, a lot of his arguments here, concerning how he's basically trying to show how God is immoral and irrational if he exists, if the Christian concept of God is true, the biblical idea of God. Okay, first, God wants happiness for us with him in heaven. That's God's purpose. That's his goal. Okay, I'll go with that, but there's a few other things that God wants, and it's not simply human happiness. I know it's hard for our humanistic culture to understand that God may want more than human happiness, but he wants more than that. He wants to demonstrate his holiness and his wrath against sin and all this. It might be a funny thing to think about, but from the biblical perspective, and I know there's a lot of mamby-pamby Christians out there who think that God created the whole universe for human beings. He did not. He created the whole universe to demonstrate his glory. Human beings are a part of that plan, but just a part. God is theocentric, not anthropocentric. God is God-centered, not human-centered. The universe revolves around God. If he created it, it revolves around him, not around humans, but I digress. Okay, first, our questioning God's plan is attributable to our sinfulness. Yes, it is. Actually, if you have looked at human history, you read history, I love history, I studied it. Human beings, throughout all of history, it's been one horrible experience after another of human evil and sinfulness, but we'll go with that. That, you're basically saying that we shouldn't question it, but you're going to do it anyway right now. Okay, he's going to create Lucifer in his fall and know about his fall. Okay, yes, we'll go with that. So God, he knew Lucifer was going to fall, but he created Lucifer anyway. God's an idiot. Okay, hell's existence. Man, isn't that a bad place? Hell, to torture these innocent people who just, actually, they're not so innocent. They're sinful to the core, but we'll go with that. That's mean. That's evil. God's a big meanie who loves to kill babies and kittens. And he creates hell to torment human beings. Okay, sin is against God's nature. Yes, that's true. Slavery. He's going to command things like slavery, beating children and women. Okay, God is immoral. He's going to he's going to want people to kill anyone that worships pagan gods. That is actually a commandment in the Old Testament. If you worship a pagan god, then you were to be stoned to death. That's true. And God is a big meanie because of it. Okay. Then he brings out young earth creationist position that he's going to create something that looks with age, but it's not. Right. But it's really young, and he's attacking young earth creationists when I'm actually not a young earth creationist, but we'll go with that. God's an idiot. He created a creation that looks old, but it's not. He's irrational. And we have all these biological flaws. Okay, and he decided, the way that our plumbing is it shouldn't be in that place. He knows better where the plumbing should be. So God's an idiot. He's irrational. He created us with biological flaws. The tree of knowledge. Why did he put the tree of knowledge in there? He knew they were going to fall. And it sounds like you're kind of siding with Satan on this one, that it was probably a good thing that they be enlightened. It's funny that you use that term, but okay, God's irrational to put the tree there, knowing that they would fall, and he's immoral knowing they would fall. Well, there's a double whammy right there. Okay, the talking snake. Okay, stupid story, right? A talking snake. That's real stupid. So God puts that in his inspired book. He's going to also have the human race fall into sin, and everybody from Adam and Eve are going to have a sin nature. Okay, God's evil for doing this, for leaving human beings in sin. And then he's going to create hell and puts the souls in that hell. That's also evil. God is immoral. The global flood and Noah as a righteous person. Now here I'm not sure your argument, but I'll just go with it that you're basically saying God's irrational. He's stupid. He caused a global flood. And I don't know what your thing was with Noah, that he was right. He was righteous, but then he wasn't later. Was he talking about when he got drunk or what? I'm not sure, but God's an idiot. God's immoral, and he is irrational. Animal sacrifice. Isn't that bad? Killing little lambs. God's immoral. He's the bad guy. Miracles before modern science and communication. Okay, now, here I'm going to have to digress a little bit, Scott, because um, God did miracles. He stopped the sun. He parted the seas. He did all this before we had TV and all this. And if we had TV, here's my thing. If we had television and video cameras on this and we saw the parting of the Red Sea, nobody would ever dismiss that. And we had thousands of witnesses that saw this. Nobody would ever dismiss that as a special effect. No, they wouldn't do that, right? No, they wouldn't do that. And you know what, too? Today we have all this great communication and television and all these things, these wonderful gadgets to bring in information about what happened in these events, and we can rock solidly know what happened. I mean, there's so much evidence for these events, like, say, for instance, the Apollo moon landings. So much evidence, thousands of witnesses, people, cameras, and everybody believed that people went to the moon, and Neil Armstrong and all them. There was no doubt in anybody's mind with all the gadgets and all the, no. 9/11, we have cameras watching that. People, eyewitnesses, people dead. No one thinks there's a conspiracy because there's all this evidence, right? No. Sandy Hook, there's people, dead kids, all these eyewitnesses, videotape, police reports, tons of. Nobody thinks that's a conspiracy. No. Obama, his record, his birth record, everybody knows, and we have it. It came in a Hawaiian. It was in the newspaper and all this. We have documentation with in the modern era. Everybody thinks Obama. There's nobody that has a conspiracy theory that thinks it's all. No. See, this is the thing, Scott, and a lot of you atheists, you need to realize when there's something that has a lot of evidence behind it, and the implication is something those people don't want to accept, they will find a way to excuse it. So that's what I've been saying in another video with you, that evidence is not the whole game. It's not. Evidence is not the whole game. There's a lot of other stuff going on here. If the sky being blue had implications that people did not want to accept, that sky would cease to be blue in their mind. Okay, so sorry, I digress. But God should have done it in the modern age where we had cameras and video and all this documentation. That's what you're saying. God's an idiot for doing it in the ancient times. Okay. The incarnation. God's Son is God, and God came down to earth